And you're on.
Okay, so this is our group, and this is our presentation.
Okay, so a little bit about the history, or like just about the plane itself. Its length is 65 feet and 11 inches. Its height is 12 feet and 5 inches, and its wingspan is 43 feet and 4 inches.
Yeah.
Okay, so the plane itself is capable of dropping nuclear bombs. It's covered in layers of resistant materials that reduce any other signature the plane might leave, and it's not available worldwide. Okay, so its maximum speed or high supersonic is 761 miles per hour, and then the speed of an object divided by the speed of the sound in the fluid is called the Mach number.
Okay, so we created a scale factor of 148, and I'm gonna let Kaylee take over.
Okay, so we figured out, like, we had the original links of the actual plane, the huge, large plane, and we put those into inches so that it would just we wouldn't have like decimals or anything and have to figure that out. So we put it into the inches, and once we figured that out, we took it, like the number divided by 48 to get what how long our wingspan would be and how long our actual plane would be. And those are these links right here, so they're scaled down a lot so that we could fit it in the room.
Okay, so like stuff that we use to find our angles and side lengths, we use the Pythagorean theorem. So like if we had two side lengths, we cut it all into right triangles. And we also use trig and inverse trig, and then our scale factor so that we could size it down every piece of it so it wouldn't be huge, as Kaylee said. And we use ratios to help us with the lengths as well.
As far as finding the dimensions, this was kind of hectic. So what we did is we cut these little plane triangles. We scaled them up a lot, and before we did that, we broke them into triangles, like the plane into 4 different triangles, and we used scale factors to find the little piece at the bottom, how much it was. And we kept that all in like the original plane length and stuff, and then we scaled it down after we had solved all that. So after we had gotten that, we used ratios of measuring out what the plane length was on our paper and dividing that by the actual plane length to get a ratio which was 85.5135. And after we measured them out actually on the plane, something like this, we would measure the sides and multiply it by the 85.5 number.
We'll get into more detail
Yeah,
on this as we go on because we have actual pictures of the things.
Yeah.
We've got, like, images.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did all these fancy lines on here just to show you a couple
Just to
of
clarify.
the triangles that we found. Like, these aren't even probably half of the triangles we found, but we had the actual, we had the huge, just the base part of the triangle. And then we found like this middle one, which is actually these two pieces right here. And what we did, we pretty much cut the plane in half, and then we would just find one triangle on one side, and then we would just cut out 2 of those and then place them so that the plane would be symmetrical. And yeah.
Okay, next what we did was, for this, is we measured out our scale factor, and then we just used the Pythagorean theorem on both sides to figure out what our missing side lengths would be. And then we also did inverse trig to figure out our angles on this one to measure it.
And this one is like the whole base. This picture is the base, and then we have this line, which is like where the tail came off.
It's the whole line at the
Which-
bottom, is all
We
the
kind
way
of
here.
like had some trouble getting our base because every time we would look at the picture, we kept cutting out like the actual tail as like being flat on the base, so we kept getting it wrong. So then we figured out that really we only needed this part and above because the tail wings came later on.
Okay, and so for our tail lengths, like, this is just from other stuff, but down there. anyways, we look at like all the degrees of it and we divided this by 48 and then we put it into right triangles and used our trig to find side lengths.
And what we used this one for, we cut out like a long piece of cardboard, and then this was to find, like Joe said, like the spine of the actual plane. And we found this triangle here first, and then we cut that triangle off. And then we also found this smaller triangle to get more of like the other part. And then this triangle was cut out also. And then this part we ended up not needing, which is like Renee's like hard work. We cut out like all these little baby triangles. And because we figured out that this side from the view is actually the tail wings. The tail wings really just messed us up a lot.
These were not kind to us.
We just figured out that we can just cut it straight down like just straight.
Our method for getting all the angles is we did inverse trigonometry. So when we had all the lengths done and figured out, due to the scale factor, we would use inverse trigonometry. And I would usually end up doing inverse sine and doing the lengths by multiplying it by the across side.
Okay, so what we did when we figured out, we cut all the pieces into right triangles, and we were figuring out what the side lengths would be and what the angles were, we went on our piece of paper that we used, this long, image we used, and we measured out what the lengths of that part would be. And then like Renee said, we took it times the scale factor that we found. And then what we did once we had that big number is we scaled it down by 48, which was our original scale factor, and that would give us the lengths of our sides to put together. And then we got all of our sides out.
Which we have a lot of pictures that are showing
The work.
our work.
And we like double checked all of these with the what's it called, Pythagorean theorem to make sure they were all
We like
working
Like
out.
one of us would find like the length on the picture, then another one would like give it to Renee because she like had the scale factor
Just like-
memorized.
Yeah.
And she would, because the actual length of the picture is not to scale of what the actual plane is, so we had to like, we had to go from the small picture to the actual plane, then back down to our
scale
plane, because they aren't the same.
It was a long process.
This sounds confusing, but it's not.
It's
It's
not.
easy when you get the hang of it.
It is.
And then this is another, like, Renee labeled, like, we would go and label them on the picture and then draw them on here so then we can have multiple people working at times. Like,
Yeah.
one person would draw this up and another person would go and actually cut it out and then other people would glue on and stuff,
and
so.
keep the numbers so we know which
Yeah.
piece is
Where
which.
to put it.
Because, like, the first couple times we cut out some pieces and then we would, like, leave and then come back and then we were like,
Oh, where does this go? What
this
is this?
is not a piece we remember where it went.
Yeah.
And this is the last part, and I think it's upset. No, it's not upset.
These are the triangles for our
This is
Spine.
Spine.
Yeah, this is what was cut out of the here and the front part of the like triangle. Oh, just kidding, we got smaller.
We all did like the
There's
same
so
process for every single part that we did. We just had different views. We had the front view to find a lot of the side panels, and then we
Yeah.
had a side view and a top view and a base.
Just a
So
lot of
all this
triangles.
is really just our work that we did.
How we found the tails is first we like actually like we had the whole base drawn out which with the tails on it from the top view, and then we traced like with our scale we like traced them out and then cut them separately and then cut them in half so that they would be equal. There was a lot of cutting to be equal.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
that one. Okay.
Source.
Alright, sources.
Questions?
That was probably the most thorough presentation ever.
Okay, my question is, once you got your panels, how did you know how to add them to your
Okay.
plane?
We use protractors and
Yeah.
like if they're at an angle, I mean the base obviously isn't at an angle.
And we also
Yeah.
tried to like fit them together because some of them like we didn't cut out as equal as others. Like right here,
Yeah.
there's kind of a hole in our plane because like some as we like put the pieces together, some like one side was like more together than the other side, so then some of the pieces
Yeah.
didn't exactly fit. But we I don't know,
When
like
we,
that's.
yeah, when we were going at an angle, is we just used a protractor to figure out what the angle on our plane would be, and we glued it at that angle on our plane.
Beautiful. Questions?